everyone, so today I'm going to be filming my 16 and pregnant with twins story, which basically dates back to May of 2015. I was living with my sister alone in Hawaii without my parents, and I had been dating my baby's father for a little over a year at this point. And yeah, I found out I was pregnant about a week before I turned 17, and I didn't really ever have a thought that I was going to abort my baby or, put my baby up for an adoption or anything. That I had always planned to keep this baby. I had never really gone through that phase in my head. I never went there. So I was dedicated to my child, and that was a fact at this point. I essentially had been living in Hawaii for a few years and was just living with my sister. My baby's dad and I had a great relationship. Everything was good, and I fell pregnant. I had a relatively easy pregnancy, thinking I was carrying a singleton. I had planned to have a home birth, actually, with a midwife, which is what a lot of people around me were doing. A lot of the people where I live do that, and that's what I had planned to do. There are no birth centers here, and I wasn't planning to give birth in a hospital. That just wasn't the plan. So I kind of went along with my singleton pregnancy, thinking it was a very easy, normal textbook pregnancy. I didn't, have those routine doctor's appointments in the beginning or anything like that, and it wasn't until I went in, actually, because I wanted to find out the gender of our singleton at 20 weeks. So I went in and I got an ultrasound. And basically my baby's father and the ultrasound technician, they turned on the machine and they both were just wide-mouthed, completely wide-mouthed. Like, did you know you're actually having twins? There's two heads in here right now. You are not carrying a singleton. You have two babies. And they're both boys. And so this was a lot to integrate at this moment. It was like a lot of information because we had just totally thought we had a normal singleton pregnancy. At this point, we were told that we have identical twins, or Mo-di twins is a more technical way to call it, and Mo is just referring to the single placenta, and the di is referring to the two sacs that they had. So they were in separate sacs, but they had one central placenta that they got all their nutrients from, their oxygen, their nutrients, but they had their own sacs. We had a very strange appointment where the ultrasound technician could not get one of the babies to really move. He was what they kind of called a stuck twin, which was a really scary term to hear because that just doesn't sound right. You know what I mean? You don't want your baby to be stuck inside of you. You want them to be freely moving around, and just happy, healthy in there. And we learned that we had what's called stage 3 twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, which is a highly complicated, basically, disease of the placenta. You can acquire if you are carrying identical twins. Identical twins only. If you're having fraternal twins, they'll have two separate placentas, so they'll have two separate nutrient systems that are that they're feeding off of. And my babies just had one to share, you know what I'm saying? So we learned that the nutrients were not distributed evenly between the boys, and one of my twins had no fluid at all, was like pretty stuck, didn't have much room, wasn't getting much from the placenta. He was getting about 25% of what his brother was receiving from it. And this was really scary to hear. This was a lot of information to hear. We later learned that it is a 60 to 90% mortality rate for this condition in pregnancy left untreated. So we were actually flown to Los Angeles, where we met with a doctor who would perform a laser surgery on the placenta to separate the blood vessels that the two babies shared that were making it so bad for my one twin, who was essentially kind of dying. We were told to abort him. We were told that his chances were really low of survival, and if he did survive, he might have a lot of problems. We were overwhelmed, with information that was not in our favor. You know, all the information we were receiving was so negative and not what you want to hear when you're pregnant. And so we flew to LA to get this laser procedure, or to have a consultation with the doctor and see if we were even eligible to have it, because you can only have it if your, you know, if your twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome is bad enough, because there are so many risks doing the laser and performing the surgery that, you know, you could end up losing both babies in an instant with that laser. And so we went for the consultation, and twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome is known for getting really bad and then resolving, and getting really bad and resolving again. And so by the time we had gotten to LA for our consultation, it had actually fully resolved, and it looked as though there were like hardly any issues at this point, which was very strange, because at the previous appointment where we live in Hawaii, the doctor had really stressed how horrible it was and how it looked like we were really going to lose both babies. So it was so odd to hear a week later that they didn't look bad at all. So we went home, we were really happy and excited to hear that news, and we came back to Hawaii, where we don't have, you know, extensive medical care, especially for such a rare condition like what I had. And so we thought everything was nice and dandy, and now I'm about 24 weeks, right? And yeah, we think everything's great. So I just keep continuing on in my pregnancy, thinking it's resolved, thinking it's good. And I went in to check with my doctor for a bi-weekly appointment. Just, that's what we had, that's what we were doing for what was going on. So I went in. The doctor was actually not in when I needed to go, so he said, it's okay, just wait a week, you're totally good, I really think you're good. And I don't know why he advised me that, but he did. It's what he said. So week 27 comes around. I'm in a lot of back pain. I don't feel well. I have an appointment actually that day. I have an appointment at 27 weeks, and this is the time that I'm experiencing these really odd symptoms. And I call my midwife and I tell her that I'm having a lot of back pain and I'm not feeling very well. I'm feeling sick and weird and kind of cramping minorly, and do I need to run to the emergency room, or can I wait for my appointment later that day? And she told me that I can wait for my appointment. This is probably just a normal twin feeling. So I actually listened to her, which was not the right decision, because in my heart I truly feel that I knew I needed to go to the doctor right then. I didn't listen to myself, and that's a big mistake that I made personally. And it's just like a learning experience, you know. I can't be hard on myself for what happens next. But so then I go in for my appointment, and we get another ultrasound, and he says, oh, it looks like the babies are in really, really bad state again. It's so bad. Like, your one baby actually has absent diastolic flow, which means he's not receiving anything anymore from the placenta. It's doing nothing for him. He is literally just a stagnant human, like, that's not moving much, not looking very healthy at all. And he had not grown since our very last appointment, which was 3 weeks before that. So this is a very bad sign, as this was like in the middle of the pregnancy where, you know, tons of growth should be happening. My other baby, there was a lot of pressure on his heart because he had so much fluid, and my other baby had such little fluid. And so it just was a bad situation now for both boys, whereas before it was like one was not doing well, but now he was even doing worse, and the other one was starting to do badly as well. And so we are actually asked to go confirm that everything is as bad as it looks on his little monitor at a hospital 3 hours away on the island. So while I'm in all this pain and like back pain and weird pain and feeling oddly, I'm told that I need to go to another hospital on this island to confirm everything about what he had seen on the ultrasound. And I had told the doctor also that I was feeling all these things, and he completely ignored it. Like, he literally ignored that I told him my back was in a lot of pain. So then I am driving to this other hospital, and I'm, like I was saying, like, my pain was progressing a lot. And by the time we got to the hospital, we got an ultrasound, and what do you know, everything is exactly as he had said at the other hospital. It is as bad as it seems. Even on this better quality ultrasound, it still looked this bad. So at this point, we were like, I don't know what they're going to do. Like, we don't know. We don't have any experience in this. This is our first pregnancy. We're young. We don't really know what's going on at all. Like, we just have no idea what's going on. And so we're waiting outside of the doctor's office. and this guy actually comes out with a wheelchair, and he wheels out the wheelchair and he says, okay, we're going to labor and delivery. And I go, no, not me, you have the wrong person. I'm actually 27 weeks pregnant. I'm not going to labor and delivery. We're just trying to figure out what weird situation I'm in right now, what precautions we need to take, what we need to do at this point, what's our next step. And he said, actually, no, you are going to labor and delivery right now. So I'm extremely afraid at this point. I don't really know what's going on. I don't have experience in this. Like I said, I don't know what's happening. And we are wheeled to labor and delivery at this hospital, where we are like actually told that I have to be helicoptered to another island right now. I have to like I didn't have any clothes. All we had at this moment, my partner and I, were the clothes on our backs. We did not have anything, did not have a phone charger, did not have food, did not have anything, and we just had to go on this helicopter to this other island, not knowing what was going on, not really knowing our fate. They weren't really telling us that much. We weren't getting that much information. Just that this was the next step. This is what we were going to do, and they were going to go monitor us over there. Still not taking into account the pain that I felt all day, like literally just ignoring me 100% with the fact that I'm in a lot of pain, right? They don't check me, they never like look at anything like visually. They're just like listening to my words kind of, but like, are they really listening? Because like they didn't do anything or anything. So after about an hour of sitting on this hospital bed, a bunch of guys walk in the room and they have a gurney, and I get on the gurney and we're wheeled outside to this little tiny airplane where my gurney is pushed on the airplane, and there's literally only enough room for me and like 2 other guys and then my partner, and we're just on the plane. And at this point, my pain has definitely increased. Like, it's definitely bad, and I tell the guy, like, my pain is actually literally at a 7 right now. Like, I don't know why I'm feeling this much pain. He's just like, oh, okay, well, we're gonna get you there soon, like, you'll be there soon, and they can, you know, figure out what they're gonna do or whatever. So basically, I had really weird care. It was like the care that I received was so weird. And I got to this other island, and I was put in an ambulance and taken to this hospital, which was about a 45-minute drive. I got to the hospital, and finally these people who actually know what they're doing take me up, you know, into the maternity ward, into their labor and delivery unit place. And finally they decide to check me. Someone decides to check me, and they actually find out that I'm 5 centimeters dilated at this point. 5 centimeters dilated. 5 centimeters. That is like legit. Like, anybody who has had a child or like knows about pregnancy knows that if you're 5 centimeters dilated, you're like kind of close to giving birth. Like, there is a chance that they can stop the labor, they say, but everybody that I've talked to that was ever 5 centimeters dilated delivered their baby, like, you know, within hours. So then at this point, I was 5 centimeters dilated, and they told me that they were going to try to stop the labor. So I was administered magnesium and a couple of other things, I don't know, to stop the labor. I was like, don't give me anything for pain. I don't want it. They hooked me up to a contraction monitor at this point and told me that my constant contraction was horrible, and it looked very painful and like a very painful kind of labor, and the contraction that I was having was like deep and intense, and they kept advising me to help with the pain, and I kept saying no, like, I want to do this all natural. I planned for a natural like kind of birth, like as unmedicated as possible, whatever, like do what you have to do to stop the labor, but do not do anything for my pain. So I'm then transferred to another room after they'd given me all this, administered all of this medication to stop the labor. About 30 minutes passes, and she says, okay, let's just check you again, because like your labor is clearly not stopping. I mean, you're in a lot of pain, and it looks like it's kind of increasing. So about a half an hour later, she checks me again, and I am 8 centimeters dilated. 8 centimeters dilated. So now at this point, she is like calling all of these doctors and saying like emergency C-section, like we need to deliver right now. And she also said that the cord is hanging out, so she has to stick her hand up and keep the cord from prolapsing, which would damage the brain of my baby A, who was my bigger baby, who was actually doing pretty well. He was I mean, you know, pretty well, whatever. It was his cord that was going to prolapse, so she had to stick her hand in there to keep that from happening. As I was being wheeled to the emergency room with about 30 different doctors, my partner was not allowed in the room. At this point, I was given an epidural. It didn't have any time to set in whatsoever, the epidural, and they had to do the surgery, so they actually started cutting me, and I was like, I completely feel that the epidural has not set in, my toes are not numb. Nothing is numb. Like, I'm telling you right now, nothing is numb. I feel everything. So at this point, I only remember about 5 seconds after that, I'm squeezing the anesthesiologist's hand saying, please help me. And then I just black out at that point, completely black out. Then I wake up about, I don't know, 5 hours later or so, and I realize I'm not pregnant anymore. I have my family in the room, or I have my partner and his father and my sister in the room at this point. We're waiting for my mom to come. They tell me that she is on a plane right now coming over, and that I had just had the babies. Like, I had literally just had my babies. That pregnancy was just like, whoa, like, what just happened? Like, what even happened? I didn't even get to know that I had twins for more than 6 weeks. I had only known was having twins for 6 weeks before this happened. They tell me that the boys are 1 pound 12 ounces and 1 pound 4 ounces, and immediately I'm just shocked, scared, overwhelmed. All I can say is, how are they doing? What's going on with them? Like, can I go see them, please? And they're like, no, honey, you cannot move. You need to stay in this bed right now. You cannot move. You just had a major surgery. There is no going anywhere. You're not doing anything. So I am just sitting in this hospital bed, and I'm not allowed to do anything, and I just have 1 pound children. So basically my partner was just downstairs the whole time with the babies until I could finally go down. And when I saw them, it was honestly so shocking and scary, and I just felt like I was still kind of like in denial and like in this whole mess of emotions of like not really knowing what just happened. And the fact that I had seriously just delivered them. They did not have names. We had just been like so relaxed about our pregnancy, thinking we had 13 more weeks to go, and yet I had just delivered these babies, and we are immediately overwhelmed with all these negative statistics about how they may not make it, and their chances of survival are less than 15%, and blah, 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 and we're just overwhelmed with the fact that they won't be normal kids, we're told, and all these things. And it was really extreme feeling, and I just didn't know what to do, you know? And we were also told that we would have to be there until their due date, which was 3 months after. We would have to stay in the hospital, and then we were, you know, faced with the fact that my partner would have to go back home to work to pay all the bills, you know, and we just had to figure out a situation that would work for this, and it was just really scary and overwhelming. I'll have 2 1.5-year-old boys who are absolutely perfect. They have no issues whatsoever due to the prematurity. They're absolutely perfect. They met all of their milestones early or on time, and they're really smart and kind of defied all the odds, honestly. Everything that they had told us in the hospital ended up to be not true. In our case, personally, we did not have any of the horrible things happen to us that they said would happen, such as cerebral palsy, you know, just, you know, not meeting milestones on time and having issues in a lot of aspects, and they don't have any as far as we know at this point. Every doctor says they're extremely healthy. I can't believe how they have just defy every odd, and we're super grateful. So that is basically the intense, extreme story of me being 16 and pregnant with twins and a very complicated pregnancy. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please ask me any questions that you have below, and I'll probably do another video on this because there's a lot more I could go into, a lot about having premature babies and, you know, what life was like at home after we had those babies. We were in the NICU for 91 days, and we stayed in a hotel and went to the babies every single day. I pumped milk for them. They had breast milk until they were 1 year old. I pumped the entire time because they could not breastfeed. They weren't good at breastfeeding. It was just like too much of a pain to breastfeed both of them and give them a bottle too, because they were never fully satisfied with just their weak latch on my boob. So yeah, there's a lot of different things I could cover. This is just the pregnancy story about the complications and the very complicated birth. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Yeah, leave your questions below and subscribe to our channel for more content. Thank you for watching.